What's up, everybody? I'm Adam Knox, former pro surfer and professional surf coach. I'm here with one of my favorite people and favorite surfers, Jeremy Ryan. Thanks for hanging out, dude. It's been fun. Been fun surfing with you the last couple of days. Thanks for getting me off the couch and back into the water. Literally been 10 months. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
No, that was a good little couple of days of waves.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I mean, we had that flat spell for like a month, so we needed that.
I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know if it was flat or not. I heard about one big swell and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So when it comes to like, coaching and my job and all this stuff, I did 10 years of pro surfing and then I went to 10 years of coaching. That's a lot of surfing,
For
you
sure,
know. So,
for sure.
but and I kind of, I'm the one that's always breaking things down for people now, and I'm always telling them like, okay, you should be doing this. And
there you go.
I've worked with some older pros like for like the U.S. Open, like Luel Felipe for the U.S. Open, and guys like that, where it's actually really fun to coach because like when you and I talk, it's like a sounding board. We can kind of help each other out, and it's always kind of easier when you say from like another perspective to like, it's pretty hard to like coach yourself or even like judge yourself.
Oh, for sure.
All the time. So,
yeah.
So anyways, I just wanted to sit down with you and get your thoughts on how you do what you do, because there's a lot of things that you have that really separate the good guys from the great guys, and you're underground, but I want to know about everything, so we should delve into it and see what's going on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to be working with you. Like we were talking before yesterday, I remember when we worked together, when you're helping me just get more surf fit, because I always surfed, but I was never really trained to surf.
Right.
My surfing was my training. So it was cool to link up with you with the check training and all that stuff that I never had done. And I'd seen like Taylor do it before, but I never really like knew anyone that was teaching it. So it was cool when we started doing that. And and like I was saying before, it was like at first it was working, but I felt like my body, like we were saying, wasn't catching up.
Right.
Like my body was like kind of thrown off because I was targeting different muscles in a different way, like the quick twitch stuff.
Right.
So it was so cool. Like once it caught up, because I think we did about 3 weeks, a month before I got the injury.
Probably. We trained a bit in Ventura, and then you came down training San Diego a little
so
bit.
I had that, and then I had that injury where that ended it for a while.
Right.
And but I remember right before that injury, I was just like, I just felt so on point.
Yeah.
And so.
But you felt worse before you got better.
Like the first week or so, I was
crazy.
kind of questioning like, is this working? And then but I'm like, no, it has to work. Like everybody's the top guys are doing this. So then I kept doing it, and then I remember it just clicked one day, and then from then on, I just felt so strong. It was really cool. Like it was eye-opening to see how that when you change your body composition and target different muscles, once they turn on. Right. It's pretty cool how that. So it's great. Like talking to you now after all that time, because it's been how many years since we
I don't know.
Because that was a
years
while.
Been going by pretty quick.
3 years I think since we did that work.
Probably 3 years.
Probably 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes sense though. Like as we started training, you felt like you started to dip off. It's because you're so trained surf specifically just by surfing. When you started using other muscles and stuff, it kind of started throwing off the balance of everything. Because when you get up and you set, your hands and your legs and everything like that, you're strong in that stacked position.
Right.
we're trying to get you out of that. So if you want to be strong in everything,
right.
and then when you go to that, you're even stronger and faster.
Right.
But you were so strong in that position, and that's why you do what you do so well.
Right.
So with your style and just technique and everything, it's because of that, right? But if you were to take it away, you might fall back a little bit as you're training other muscles, because they're antagonists. There's some muscles that do certain things, and there's some that do it in like the reverse, like the antagonist to protagonist, everything. So
pulling on different
parts,
so
but once you start getting it going, then the mind to body is quicker and faster and stuff. But I can see that falling off. But anyways, so I want to get into it with some questions. So when I think of style and kind of perfection in surfing, I think of like Rob Machado, my brother, Kalani, guys like that. And then when it comes to like guys like you that are kind of underground, I don't really know anybody that has what they have like you. Can you tell me what's going on there?
Well, thank you to be in that classification, but no, I mean, I don't really. I just kind of do it, what feels natural with my surfing. And I mean, I guess when I was younger, obviously all I did was watch Taylor Steele movies.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next question. I was like, all right, well then who did you idolize? Because you're copying somebody.
I mean,
and who was it?
I mean, so my beginning was, I started surfing. I found the love for it, and then I knew I wanted to do that for the rest of my life, right? And I wanted to be professional. So for me, not having anyone to help me, all I had was surf movies, right?
A lot of us.
Just like we all did, right?
That's all we had.
And then when Taylor Steele came in, he came in with the right music, the stuff that I like to listen to. He came in with the top guys surfing waves that weren't good. Like, it was like around here,
right?
So I could relate to it instead of watching like Perfect Indo or Hawaii. It like doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
So I started watching it, but what I did was, and this is I think where this changes from a lot of my friends that I grew up with, that we all started at the same time. There's like a group of 6 of us, and we all were watching videos. But the thing I was doing was I was studying them, to every little aspect of it. So I would, for instance, like Kalani or Machado, I would just watch his part in slow motion for hours. Like, I would just stare at, and I would look at the intricacy. I would look at the transition. I would look at where his arm is when he's coming off the top, as opposed to like the finishing part. Like, I would look at all the things between,
all the little things
in between. And so I think just by doing that over the years, whatever I picked up, it was just a little bit from everybody, because I didn't have like a specific. I mean, obviously Kelly, because he was just so good,
but all right, so that's what's strange to me. So Kelly, to me, doesn't have what Taylor has, or Kalani, or Rob, or any of those guys. To me, Kelly's style isn't, he may be the best competitor, best surfer, like maybe GOAT, but I mean, he does a lot of like arm flares, and he's not as tucked, and he's not as perfect, and maybe that's kind of genius to his surfing. But when you think of like perfect surfing, you think of like Taylor, you think of Kalani, they're just sick style, and they don't really break form where Kelly breaks form. So you agree with that, or?
I agree with that. I feel like back in the day when he was younger, when he was first winning world titles, I think with his boards a little longer and had a little more drive, I feel like he had less of the movement. I feel like now with the smaller boards, he kind of has to.
Yeah.
And I notice that in myself when I ride a smaller board. I feel like I'm doing a little more gyration to keep the flow, especially now I'm riding epoxy, right, as opposed to like flowing through with a poly.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I agree.
Well, you see Kelly doing double pumps in his bottom turns, and you would never see that from like Rob or my brother or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's
and Kelly,
true.
Double pumps, and he lifts up too, where he's like almost in a standing position a lot.
Yeah.
Where you never see that, and with you're so comfortable in that low position. This is what I tell all my guys that I work with. I'm like, dude, get comfortable in that uncomfortable position to where it's comfortable.
Right.
So when you get up, I was watching clips yesterday, and I figured out what it was that like sets you apart from everything. And roll the clip.
We'll do
So if you look at Dane and whomever, right? Dane does it. Dane Reynolds got it. Kelly's got it. It's all about the flat back, right? The hinging part.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, your knee comes up. Like I can't even go past this. Your knee is like touching your chest through pretty much most of the things you do, and you have so much like dexterity, I guess, in like the hip joint as well. Fuck, dude, it's crazy. And I showed Josh last night. I'm like, dude, this is what it is. Because if you look at me and Chad, like when I'm like in form and stuff, like I'll be lucky to get my front leg parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is coming up, at like it has like a 40-degree.
Okay.
More like up here, and you can see everything moving around. And dude, if you're that stacked, that's a loaded spring.
Mm-hmm.
You're so loaded up, you can generate so much speed. So also like when you surf with you in person, you have the speed of those pros as well.
Mm.
And that's what it's from. It's from being able to stack that. Like you're stacked up, and then with everything being like that, and your arms are perfect, and where you're looking is all spot on. But really, like the thing that sets everybody apart, and watch this now, like you'll see it in other people, and watch when I surf, like what looks bad about me and doesn't look professional is that this is maybe like flat and or just
You're talking about your front leg or both legs?
Front leg.
Okay.
Back leg, I can get my back leg down into the ground like this, right?
You sit down into it.
But this is about as far as I go. Where you would be up here.
That's interesting.
And if you look at Taylor, you look at Dane, like when Dane goes like this, he goes a high line, his knee's by his face, and he goes, whoo! Yeah. And he gets more speed off the bottom than anyone in the world.
Right.
He goes, whoa, whoa, wham! And that's how he's able to whip and throw things into the flats and all that stuff. He has so much from off the bottom. It's crazy.
Right.
And it has to do with being like the most loaded you can be, like the most compressed spring ever, right? I'm like a spring that's compressed this much. You're a spring that's compressed completely.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference between that. So, is that something that you worked on, or is that something you just go, okay, that guy's style is sick. How do I get into that position? Is it what was the? I mean, is there anything behind that? Is that conscious, or is it?
It's kind of funny that you like mentioned it, because I haven't really thought about it at all. Like, not even a little bit. It just feels natural, and I understand. Like,
you bastard. I
used to always watch, your brother especially.
Yeah.
And his thing that I always noticed is he was always low.
Yeah.
Right? Like his bottom, from his drop to the bottom turn through the turn, he's low. He's compressed. But like you're saying, it's very difficult to do. Dude, it's very unnatural.
It's super hard.
Because it's really easy to just stand up, and then just kind of be like this and highline. Yeah. But when you're stuck low, everything needs to be precise, right?
You have to be on.
Yeah, because if you start to catch, you have nothing to go like that with. Yeah. All you can do is spring up. You can't load. Like,
you can't get any lower. Yeah. So that's right. So, usually, if you're right in the middle, you can go both ways. But if you're completely low, you got to be perfect. Yeah. I didn't really think about it that way. Because say like where I'm at, I can screw up because I can drop.
Right.
Or I can go up.
Right.
But you guys are pretty much as low as you get.
Right, and that's where beginners. That's why you see a beginner and they stand straight up.
Yeah.
Because it's easy if you're going to lose your balance to get low. Right. Like if you're like, oh no, all you do is bend your knees, you're not going to fall.
Right.
It's pretty simple. That's what I tell people when I'm like working with new students. I'm like beginners. I'm just like, if you feel like you're going to tip over, you're just standing too tall. Just lower down. You will not fall. But when you are at the bottom of where you're at, now all you can do is use leg muscle and leg strength to push yourself up.
Yeah.
So you could fall, and you don't fall that far because you're low.
Yeah.
But the only way you can get out of that position is by using leg muscle and
you gotta
force.
Push.
And that's where when you're, especially like the thing that always tripped me out about Taylor and a lot of the top guys, like, and Kelly has it too. They sit on those bottom turns.
Yeah.
And they're so compressed for so long, and it's so drawn out that. I mean, just growing up working on that specifically, it's like you get halfway and you get to the point where you're just about to go up. Now your legs are feeling a little tight, So it's like, and then what they're doing, like your brother will go through a turn, still compressed, like you said, go through it all the way, staying compressed into a bottom turn, and it's just like,
That's crazy.
It's a trip, and
it's a crazy thing.
I feel like the thing that I've learned the most, like honestly about that, or I've been working on, even to this day, is not tightening up, tensing up too much, because what happens.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
So when you're low, right?
Yeah.
You're coming down. You're low. You're coming off the top. You're dropping down for a bottom turn. You're low, right? You're compressed.
Yeah.
If you're tensing,
well, I'm kind of low. You're really low.
Well,
but yeah. All right, I got it in my head.
But if you're tensing, like just imagine you're tensing up, right?
Right.
You're putting so much on those muscles, right? Everything's getting tight. You're holding, and then for you to release and be loose and flexible, it doesn't really work that way.
Right.
So the key is to stay low, but loose. And it's so hard because as you get low, your muscles start to tighten, right?
Yeah, they elongate and then they tighten.
So I feel like the breath work between the turns. Right. So when you're dropping in, you're blowing out, and then when you're going up, and then blowing out on the down.
Off the bottom, you got to be going, and on the way up, and then through the turn, and again and again. You always, because what it does actually, like scientifically, it charges it pushes your guts, your visceral, down into your pelvic floor.
Right.
And it's called a thoracolumbar fascia mechanism, and it goes all the way from the spine to the belly button and the bottom pelvic girdle and everything like that. So when you breathe out and you make your stomach big, like we've trained, it supports your spine and it makes everything like a bottle. If you grab a bottle with the lid on it and you squeeze it, it's tight, right?
Right.
You take the bottle off and you squeeze it, or the cap off and you squeeze it, and it's weak, right? Or even if you were to do it and like put a little dent in it and put it back on, then it's really malleable too. So you want to make sure that you really push out and make your stomach like a big canister.
Right.
But if you go like this and you go to turn and your ribs kind of puncture that canister, then you're all wobbly again. Right. So you got to be careful, and that's where that neutral spine comes in, that flat back.
Right.
Ass up, head down, pretty much coming off the bottom.
Because most people that surf, even myself, I find sometimes holding my breath.
Yeah, dude.
You're excited, you get a good wave, and you're like, and like you're like surfing, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm holding my breath for through like 3 turns.
Yeah, totally.
And then it's just like, what am I doing? And then you're like all puffed up, and you're not like you said, you're not releasing, and then you're not breathing through your muscles and getting oxygen in there. And so,
I've been dirt bike riding a bunch, and I watch all these like vlogs and stuff, and they say like, inhale into a berm and exhale on the way out. And when you exhale, you're moving forward, and that's kind of what it is. You want to be strong in through the turn, and then when you breathe out is when it's going to accelerate you through, and it's kind of the same thing in every sport. So
I think that's so overlooked.
Yeah, dude.
Everyone's looking at like the technique and all this stuff, and they're not understanding the body mechanics and how the body needs to work and breathe and to maintain, and like really get all that out of it,
Well, it's just like the muscles, like we're like pistons, a pump, right? It's pumping, and the lower you can get and the more you can extend and whatever. Or, if you can get really low, then you don't really ever want to come up, all the way. So if you can be really low, then you can just work in here and just be a machine. Yeah. So I'm here and I'm working here where I'm getting close to extension, like complete extension, right? And that's not good. So if I can get down where you are, or if most people could get down where you are and just come up, 8 to 12 inches maybe, then you're dialed. Yeah. But that's what I don't possess and have. And if I work on it and I get into it, and on my backhand kind of almost looks, that's where I'm good, like on my backhand. The stuff from Waco, I'm flowy and I'm holding the bottom turn and my knee is closer to my chest. And then on my front hand, I'm kind of standing up. It's so weird how it varies from front hand to backhand. Do you have any, I think it was Dane Reynolds that said, every board should be asymmetrical because we surf so much differently on our backhand than we do our forehand. Do you agree with that? Because that one's kind of hard to wrap your head around, because you do, and it's there, I know that, but I don't really know how to explain that.
I don't know if I agree on, the actual board needs to be asymmetric, but I mean, you definitely have a different angle of pressure on a board, which makes sense. And who knows, he's probably right. It'll probably help.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what you would switch it to. Like on my backhand, because off the bottom you push so much harder off your back foot off the bottom.
Right.
On your backhand, and then you get way more rotation as well too. But you'd want drive, but you'd also want to be quick in the pocket to fit.
And that's the thing. Like,
so then you'd get weird with.
But that's the thing. If you're trying to make a board that's specific for one angle, one rail, you kind of feel like you're kind of limiting things, because you should be able to have equal pressure on either toe edge or heel.
Right.
Like, you don't. It doesn't really make sense to me to have one that turns over quicker than the other one, when if your board is fit for your foot width and your dimensions, then you should be able to turn them both over just as equally. But that's I don't know, it's just
and also like, say if you had like a square tail, like, and you want, say, it just depends on the conditions too, because if you wanted something to pivot, you kind of want to go off a squash and kind of be able to pivot and get up into under the pocket and just rack it off right there. But I wonder about like a kind of a round tail, and then and it's just a little more elongated and then rounded off here. I mean, that'd probably be the safest bet.
Yeah, I mean
that's weird oblong thing.
Those round tails is what I've been riding the most, like the one you rode yesterday. And it just, I feel like it has a nice in between where it feels like a squash still. Yeah. But it holds just a little bit where you can really push, and it just kind of feels like it holds a little bit more. Pretty much like a thumb tail, yeah. Thumb tail, yeah.
Yeah. Round tails, I mean, let's get into that. So like a round tail would probably be like a little bit more here, yeah? And then you got the thumb that's like that.
I mean, the thumb is basically a squash with the round.
Yeah, it's like a round. It's like what Mick rides pretty. I mean, I guess that was Mick's model, right? That Roberts did for.
Yeah, the one he.
That's what it was. So that's pretty much he rides, like mostly rounded squashes. As a thumb.
But I mean, back to the national thing, like. So I grew up in that kind of environment, and so I would just lose in contests, and then I met Mike Lamb. Mike, and he coached a lot of the kids, and he was. I forgot
you trained with him.
I was introduced to him through a buddy, through a mutual friend, and he just asked Mike. He's like, hey, I'm this guy from my beach, this kid. He's like trying to get going, doesn't have any money. Think you could help him out. So then he's like, sure. So he just kind of invited me over to a shop over here, the kayak place, and sat me down and kind of broke down like how you win a heat. Like, just very simple. Drew it on paper. I still have it somewhere. It's pretty rad. Like, he just drew this out. He's like, this is why Ratboy can never be world champ. This is why Tom Curran can be world champ. Like, he kind of just not saying Ratboy's not the man.
I've always wanted to get into his little. He's got a little folder he carries with him, dude. I want to steal that thing and just check it out, because I think I'd take I coach a lot, and I got a lot of, we make it happen, dude. We got a lot of good guys and stuff, but I think I have to go to everything all the time, right? Where I think he simplified it.
He's got a
his
way
little book,
about
dude.
it.
I'm gonna punk that thing, Mike. I'm coming for you.
And he has a way of explaining too that makes it easy. But yeah, I mean, he wrote some things down. He showed me, got a little understanding. I did like 2 or 3 contests after. Didn't do well. Then I saw him at nationals, and this was like a few months later, right? And he wasn't working with me. He just helped me a few tips, gave me some pointers. I went down there, and I saw him before my first heat, and so I just walked up to him. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" And then he gave me like a few little tips of what to do, and I was like, "All right, I'll try it." Like, nothing else has worked. I didn't know if this would work. I didn't know what to do,
What did he say? Tell us.
It was something really simple. Like, he's like, just take off, do a nice deep bottom turn, and just hit it as close to the hook as you can. He's like, just keep doing that. Like, super simple. Like don't try to be fancy, throwing tail. Just go straight up as close as you can get to the hook and hit it, and just do it until the wave's gone. I was like, all right, I'll try it. Went out, did it, won my first heat. I was like, holy, I was tripping out.
Well, okay, so that's simple.
It was mainly rights. I was going backside.
Okay, that's simple. So what were you doing that was different compared to that? Because, I mean, that's a pretty simple approach. Like, okay, so obviously simple. Drop in, bottom turn.
I think before
when where it's critical.
I think what I was doing before was I was watching Taylor Steele movies. I'm watching guys punt. I'm watching one big maneuver, and I wasn't putting a heat together. Right. Building a heat, and I wasn't doing what the judges want to see. It's very simple. If somebody was filming on the beach, then yeah, I'm probably doing what they want me to do, is go big. But in heat, there's a structure. And back then, the structure was a little different than it is now, right? Now you can do one big move and get a huge score. Back then, you couldn't do that. So I went out, I won my first heat, right?
That was when I was like,
and I was tripping.
3 to the beach.
You know, right. Yeah. And so I won my first heat, and then the next heat, I went out and I saw him again, and he's all, just do that same thing, he told me. And I did it, and I won that heat, and I ended up winning every heat and the final. And it was just such a trip. It was so eye-opening, and it was such a trip because at that point I realized, you know, you don't have to be the most talented surfer. If you have a game plan and you understand what the judges want to see, and you can train your body to deliver that, you will crush it. Right. And it's, you know, and it goes kind of like the Adriana De Souza thing, you know. I mean, he was so smart and worked so hard. He wasn't the most talented. No. You know, I think his style is good. A lot of people hate on his style.
I think it's better now.
I think
it was pretty gnarly.
It was a little, yeah, you know.
What he does is he bends his knee out this way, and so like you got Adriana, and then you got Taj,
right, or Bobby,
or me, like
when Bobby Martinez was just so knock-kneed, and it just looked so clean. It was like amazing.
That's how I put this hole in my foot by rolling the knee down.
But yeah, so I did that, and then no sponsors. I remember going to the banquet because they did the banquet like the following, like it was like day or two after. I think it was like the next day. Right. So you had to wait in a hotel the whole night
in
San Clemente for Huntington.
Oh, okay.
And then it was like at the Hyatt or something.
Yeah.
And then or the Hilton. And then so I remember the night before, I remember being in the shower and like just thinking, and I'm like, oh, I hope I can get like third or something. It'd be so cool. And you know the crazy
anything but second.
I just was happy to not get last.
Right.
Like I was so used to getting last. I'm like, so I remember just sitting there and I'm like, that'd be so cool if I can at least get third. And then the next night at the banquet, I was sitting there. We're all like everyone's out on their tables, and I'm sitting there, and they called us up and standing there. I'm like, come on, just give me third, at least give me third the whole time. Yeah. And then they just started calling like 6th place, 5th place, 3rd, 4th place, and then when they said third and it wasn't me, I was like, no way, I got second. I was like, yeah, I got second. I was so pumped. And then they called this guy Phil from second, and I was just like,
no way.
What? Like,
yeah, tripping.
I'm not supposed to win.
Yeah.
And so and so I won and left, you know, and I don't know, I just came back to this bubble and kept surfing, and I always thought you could just become a really good surfer and make it.
And it'll come
instead of coming down and networking and hanging out. I was like stuck in this little zone.
Yeah.
And
that happens to a lot of you guys up here.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good guys that come out, but you can't. People aren't really gonna come to you unless you're Dane or somebody like that.
Unless you're that's on another
the best
level,
in the world. Like
right.
Dane to me is.
And Timmy.
Yeah, well, Dane to me is the best in the world. Timmy was first guy to do backflips and all that. I mean, great guys, but they could sit around and someone's gonna come find them or hear about it or something.
Well, now I mean these days back then it was really tough. But there's no social media. You can't promote yourself. Right. There wasn't even YouTube. I think YouTube was out at that time.
No.
So it's like, what do you do? Like you have to make a tape and try to deliver it to sponsors.
That's what I did. Like I would go to like audio. Here's my tape.
Yeah,
like literally a tape.
A tape, yeah.
A tape, and it was like
VHS.
The shittiest edit you've ever seen. Dude, I'd hit record and like on try to like catch the clip, and it was just all bashed up. And
but that's what we had.
Yeah, I had to bring it to those guys, and then once you get your foot in the door, and you start doing well, then comes more stuff, right? All right. So, what I would say, do you have any advice for any of the young guys that are coming up? Like, for contests or even just the stuff you learned, like, because it almost seems like things were kind of stacked against you, or you felt like things were stacked against you, because you just said like, I'm not supposed to win, so you're already thinking like, wait a minute, this isn't, it's not really in my cards usually.
Right.
So guys that are feeling like that, like they don't have a chance, you have any words of wisdom for those guys?
Yeah, I mean, well, these days it's like we were saying, it's way different.
Right.
You really got to be good you need to be really good, obviously, at surfing. You need to surf really well. You need to get to that get your surfing to a level where you can compete on the CT, right? Like if you want to make it in like CT and really like
so a
try
kid
to
that
be a
wants to
world
make
champ,
the CT
right?
like in today.
But they need to also work on branding. They need to be really good at marketing. Like this is so crucial because there are so many good surfers now. I mean, I feel bad for the kids that are coming up right now that aren't like the elite of the elite, because if they don't find something else like to niche up and kind of like, you know, like have that, like Machado, you know, Machado's older now, but he still has that. He's got the look. He's got his vibe. He's got something.
Drifting and like kind of
he's
hippie,
marketing
gypsy.
in that area. And if you're just gonna come up as an athlete, I mean, you really have to have something that you can mix in there to so you're not just like a vanilla. Like you're not just another guy that rips.
Right.
That's the key. And everybody's a social media star, right? Everyone's famous on social media. So you have to find a way to have longevity in that. And so to have longevity in that, you need to be good at marketing, and you need to understand, like, you have to be comfortable in front of the camera, and you need people to get to know you personally, and not just your surfing, not just your physical, like, who is this person, what is he into, like, and I feel like that's so crucial these days, you know.
I've told Taylor like multiple times, I'm like, dude, like you should, like, I want to see more of you guys hanging out. I want to see your personality. Like, okay, I get it. I know you can do roundhouses and great bottom turns, and I know you can do all that stuff. It'd be rad to show yourself more, you know.
And it's hard.
Yeah, I guess.
It's
I mean,
hard.
I've always been kind of like a camera whore, you know, or whatever. I've been fine with it, you know. I've never, because I felt like I always had something that the wrong kind of depiction of me. So camera, I could kind of show my true self, maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm tripping, but
no, it makes sense.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But yeah, so pretty much what you're saying is like you either have to be the best surfer in the world, or you have to be a damn good surfer, because there's so many of them with a niche. Like you might be an air guy, or you might be a musician, or you might be this, and you have to find some kind of groovy thing that people can follow and mesh with and kind of want to be that, and like it's pretty difficult.
I think the number one thing that's even more important than all of that, and I think this goes just life in general, is you need to find ways that you can give to people, find ways that you can like uplift other people. Because if you can help uplift other people, you know, people remember that, they appreciate that, and then if something ever comes around, like sponsors or whatever projects in the future you're trying to work on, you know, that resonates with people, and you have to like, it's so crucial. Like for me now that and you've done it working with kids, like I've been working with the kids, like doing lessons and stuff, and it's so rewarding, because you get to see what we don't feel anymore, like that when you just stand up on a wave, how fun that is. Like we take that for granted.
Well, for us it's always just work. We get up and we're like, oh, it's time to go to work. Right.
Yeah, it's
get up on a wave, I'm like, oh, this is fun. I'm like, oh, it's time to fuck this thing up.
But I mean, and you see guys, we see pros all the time that they try and air reverse and they fall and they slap the water and they're mad, and it's like, dude. And I've been I've done that, right?
I've been frustrated yesterday.
I've been frustrated, but when you put it in perspective, it's like life is, I don't know, like it's just about lifting other people up and helping people. And if you can find a way to do that within your marketing when you're young and you're coming up in surfing, and find a way to do something, I think that's
almost like
that's gonna do it.
If you're there to help and like be like community, and you can rise up together. You don't have to push everybody away and like, oh, I'm gonna do this. Like you can do it together, and it's so much better when you have like good people around you and all that stuff. You know?
If your skill level is that much higher than everybody, it doesn't matter if you bring them with you and push other people up, because you're still going to prevail above. So if you still have your surfing and you're taking care of that, and you're still building, becoming stronger, training, eating healthy, you know, staying off drugs, staying off, you know, too much partying, all that, and focusing at the same time, you're helping other people, you're still gonna stay on top.
Dude, and when you're talking about that, only thing I'm really thinking about is the San Clemente crew. Griffin, Crosby,
for sure,
Kalohe, those guys all help each other. They all make sure, like, he always mentions his brother. Yeah, you know, Griffin always mentions Crosby. Crosby's killing it right now. Cade Matson, that whole little
That
crew.
whole
It's like
crew,
they're just lifting each other up, and they're posting each other, and they're coming up together, and they should. And so when you're saying that, I'm just thinking San Clemente, you know, Chloe and Dino, and none of those guys party or anything. They just lift each other up, and they're thriving.
Yeah.
All those kids are going to be on the CT most likely.
Sure.
Like all, 6 of those little guys coming out. Jet
will.
Schilling, Cade Matson, Crosby Calipinto, but it's really because of brother, you know, like brothers kind of been like, hey guys, this is what's up, you know, come here, let's go, you know, let's go have fun.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rad. I didn't have that.
Yeah, see, I had that, but it was in a different way. It was like we're saying,
like,
nobody come up here.
Come up, homie. Come over
Nobody
here.
come over here.
Right on. Well, all right. So just so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna figure out, you know, what muscles and everything it takes to be able to get that low, because I want to get there as well. So with this video, I'll post some sort of exercise with it as well.
Oh, cool.
And if anything comes to mind that you're
I'll
like,
use that exercise.
Yeah, well, shit, if anything comes to mind, because I'm gonna have to figure it out. I'm gonna have to go, all right, this is tight here and whatever. So I want to figure out an exercise for the people at home to check it out and surf like Jeremy and all the other guys that like really set themselves apart. You know, that's really what it was. And I realized last night, I was like, Josh, I'm like, look, it's right here. His knee is by his face, and I'm not. I'm like a zombie. I'm like, oh. Yeah. All right. Well, dude, thanks so much for linking up.
Of course.
And thanks for having me at your spot. And man, this has been fun surfing with you. And we'll let's keep it going and
shred.
And
let's go shred today.
Yeah, let's shred. I'm a little sore, but yeah, dude. I appreciate you as a human, and thanks for doing this interview.
Appreciate you too, man. Thank you so much.
All right. COVID.
Ow.